See this house? It looked like a dead lead to me. Seller wanted way too much cash. No cash buyer would touch it. And so I almost walked away. But instead, I made $25,200 on it without buying it, without fixing a single thing. And the strategy is called Novation. It doesn't replace wholesaling, but it picks up where wholesaling kind of leaves off and leaves a gap. And if you've never heard of it, you're leaving money on the table right now, because every time you get a lead on a nice house and the seller says, hey, your offer is way too low, and you just move on to the next one, let me tell you, that lead isn't dead. You just need a different exit strategy. Guys, if you don't know me, my name is Keith with REI Automated. I've been in the game for almost 10 years. I've done wholesale deals across 34 states, and I'm going to show you exactly how Novation works, when to use it, and when to just stick to regular wholesaling instead. But there's one legal line with Novations that trip people up, and most YouTube videos won't touch it. I will. Here's the plan. I want to go over what Novation is in plain English, how it compares to a regular wholesale deal, and when to use it, when to not use it, and how to set it up step by step, and the risks that you need to know about before you try it. Okay, forget everything you've heard for a second. Let me explain this the simplest way I can. In a regular wholesale deal, you sign a contract with the seller, and then you take that same contract and you hand it to a cash buyer. That's an assignment, right? The contract doesn't change. You're just passing it off. Now, in a Novation, the first contract, it goes away. You rip it up, and a brand new contract gets created between a seller and a completely different type of buyer. You step out and a new buyer steps in. It's new terms. It's a completely new agreement. Done. Now, here's why this matters to your bank account. In a wholesale, who's your buyer? It's a cash investor, right? It's a flipper. And what do flippers want? They want to make money, so they need a deal. They need a discount. They want to buy as low as they can so they can sell high and make money. So they're kind of beating you up on price, right? But with Novations, your buyer can be a regular family, a first-time home buyer using an FHA loan, somebody who's going to live there and raise their kids there. And that person, they're fine paying full market value, right? They're not looking for a wholesale discount. They just want a nice, clean place to live. So it's the same house, but two completely different price points. And that spread is where your bigger check comes from. But this only works on certain deals, of course. And if you use it on the wrong one, it's going to cost you time and money. So let me show you the math on a real scenario. Let me put real numbers on this so that you can see where wholesale deals break and where Novations kind of pick up. So you find a house, market value is $300,000. It's clean. It's got a, updated kitchen. There's no major repairs needed. And the seller says that she'll take $260,000. She just doesn't want to deal with agents and showings and the open house. You try to wholesale this. You run the numbers, right? You're going to use a 70% rule. So 70% of $300,000, that's $210,000. That's their max offer. Maybe you can squeeze someone to $215,000, $220,000 if the neighborhood is hot, but the seller wants $260,000, and that's like a $40,000 to $50,000 gap. So no cash buyer is going to touch this. Agreed? In wholesales, this lead is dead. You thank the seller, you hang up, and you move on. That's exactly what I used to do. But with Novations, this deal is absolutely still alive. And here's why. You can lock that in at $260,000 with the seller, and you partner with a licensed agent who lists the property on the MLS. So you're not selling to cash investors, you're selling to regular buyers, families, first-time homeowners maybe. And so like a young couple sees this listing, they love the house, they offer you $310,000 with a conventional loan. Now, 6% goes to the agent, so that's like $18,600. Another 2% for closing costs, so that's like $6,000, goes out of that $310,000. So the net is $285,000 and change, right? So the seller gets their $260,000, and you pocket the $25,000 that's in between. And that same lead that was worth $0 on a wholesale deal just paid you $25,000 in a Novation. Now, there is a trade-off, frankly, and I'm not going to pretend like there isn't. Novations take way longer, right? It's going to take you 30 to 45 days, sometimes even 60, because you're waiting on that retail buyer to get their loan approved, to get their inspection done, to make, the appraisal can come back. And so you have that, and things can fall apart, right? This is not like a 2-week close like a wholesale. And then you also have the days on market that it takes you to get that buyer in place. But the real question is, would you rather close a dead deal in 0 days for $0, or wait? Would you be okay waiting 45, 60 days for $25,000? That's the math. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Novation is not for every deal. And so let me just kind of explain what exactly belongs in each bucket. Early in my career, I probably had the same rule that many of you watching this video have. If the seller wants more than 70 cents on the dollar, I moved on. Maybe you do too. ARV times 0.7 minus repairs. That was my max offer. I no longer make offers anymore. You wanted to learn why? Send me a message. But for the ugly houses with holes in the drywall and roofs caving in, that formula kind of sort of still works. But those are the wholesale deals. All day long, big discounts like that get you into these wholesale deals. But then I get a lead on a house like this. It's clean, it's move-in ready, seller's kept it in pretty good shape, and she say, I want $260,000. Well, my formula would say, walk away. And so I did over and over and over again. I threw away thousands of dollars in dead leads before I figured this out. Guys, those are not dead leads. You just have the wrong tool. And so here's the filter I use now. Novations make sense when 3 things are true. Number 1, the house is in good shape. A retail buyer could move in and be happy. It needs to be in financeable condition, right? If it needs $40,000 in rehab, then it's a wholesale, it's a fix and flip, it's not a novation, because the bank's not going to lend on it, right? So it needs to be in financeable condition. Number 2, the seller wants a fair price, but doesn't want the hassle of listing it themselves. They don't want the open houses. They don't want the 30 showings. They want someone else to handle this. Well, this is where you step in as your concierge service, right? The third thing that you need is your cash buyers maybe aren't biting, or it's not at an appropriate price. Maybe you already have a deal under contract and nobody on your buyers list wants it. Well, before you let it die, Novation gives you a plan B for that, all right? I have a friend, an acquaintance, his name is Brewer. He's done 3,000 deals. Half of his business is novations. And it's not because he stopped wholesaling, it's because he stopped throwing away the leads that didn't fit his wholesale box, right? And his revenue per lead went up without spending another dollar on marketing because he added novations. But, and I say this on purpose, there is a legal conversation that we need to have about wholesaling, because this is where people can sometimes get hurt. So let me give you the 5 steps, and then I'll tell you where the legal line is. I'm going to go through this, walk you through each step that you need to do a novation deal. Step 1 is get the property under contract. Similar to a wholesale, but your contract includes a novation clause that lets you substitute a new buyer. Another way, arguably even a better way of doing this, is instead of exercising a purchase and sales agreement, you're going to do an option, because an option allows you to place an affidavit of option rather than a memorandum of contract. 2 totally different things, a little bit nerdy. I go over it in my course. If you want the course, we can put a link below the video where you can get that course absolutely for free. Step 2, the seller signs a net proceeds agreement. So basically what we're saying is, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, you're getting $260,000 at closing, period. Their number is locked in. There's not going to be any surprises, right? Now, step 3 is you bring in a licensed real estate agent to list the property on the MLS. You're not the agent. You're working with one, right? They handle the showings. They handle the buyer side and the offers. Now, step 4 is a buyer is going to make an offer, and the original contract between you and the seller gets replaced with a new contract between the seller and the buyer. So you're out, that new buyer is in. Now, step 5, at closing, the seller gets their $260,000. The agent gets their commission, of course, and you collect the spread. Now, for the legal side, I've seen people on Bigger Pockets, they say, well, isn't this just a net listing without a license? Like, this isn't even legal. Okay. Fair question, I guess. If you don't know, a net listing is when a licensed agent sells a property for a minimum price, and then if it goes above that, then they get to keep everything above that. And this is illegal in like a lot, if not most states. A novation is not a net listing. You are the principal in the deal. You're not an agent. You're not representing anyone. You are replacing one contract, right? Novation isn't even a real estate term. It's actually a contract law term that has been brought into real estate. And so you have an agreement with the seller, and now you're replacing that contract with another. But the line between these two things is a little bit thin, I will admit, and it totally varies by state. So here's what is absolutely non-negotiable. Number one is you need to have a real estate attorney in the state of the deal if you're doing things virtually like I am. In the state of that house, you need to have a real estate attorney review your contracts before you use them. Number two, you need to partner with a licensed agent who understands novations. If they don't understand novations, do not use them. And number three, probably the most important of these, is we need to operate with like radical transparency. Be completely transparent with your seller about how the deal works and how you're going to get paid. If you skip any one of these three steps, you are playing with fire and you're going to get burned. The investors who get in trouble with novations are not the ones who do it. They're the ones who are doing it sloppily. And I see the comments on every novation video. Well, this is just guru stuff. No, it's not. Novation has been in contract law and commercial deals for decades, right? What's new is wholesalers applying it in single-family deals. The strategy is real, it is proven, it has withstood the test of time, but just like every strategy, of course, it's going to carry some risks. And so there's four things that you need to know. First, probably most importantly here, is that sellers can kind of feel burned after the closing, right? They agreed to $260,000, the house sold for $310,000. And so some sellers may do the math and they'll get a little bit upset with that. And so transparency up front really is your only protection. Number two is deals take longer and they can fall apart, right? Time kills all deals. And so these retail buyers that need financing, if an appraisal comes in low, if an inspection kills the deal, those are bad, right? So both you and the seller need to exercise some patience. The third thing is that not every title company will close a novation. You need one that has seen them before. So if you don't have a title company, reach out to me. I'll put you in contact. We have nationwide title company coverage here. The fourth thing is that this is not a day one strategy. There's actually quite a bit of paperwork. And if you can't do basic things like comping a house or negotiating a contract yet, then learn wholesaling first, learn double closes, fair bit simpler, and then add novation later. Anybody who tells you that this is risk-free is trying to sell you something. I am not. I'm giving you the real version. Novation is not a replacement for wholesaling. It's different. This is like second gear, if you will. Like, it lets you make money on the leads that you used to throw away in the trash. So when you get these nice houses and the seller wants a fair price, novation. If your cash buyers are not biting, but it meets those three rules that I told you about earlier, novation could be a good strategy. If you're making an offer and the seller says that that's too low, that's not a dead lead anymore. Now we can go exercise plan B. So if you want more strategies like this, hit subscribe. I drop new ones every single week. If you want my deal structure dictionary course, we will put that for you in the link below. It's absolutely free. Enjoy it and watch this video next.